Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. A third group of people have become active, and it's not who you think. Today we'll introduce you to the Silent Circle. They have taken the world by storm in just a few days, and the global deep state is shaking in its boots. BlackRock has told its lawyers it is officially bankrupt. What's next for the organization, which owned the world? And an unexpected new shift is taking place, which has propelled the world toward restoration. All of this and more as we check in with Kim for today's World Situation Report. Now here she is, Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim.
Hello, Miss Sunny. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to give as much as I can about what's been going on because there's still a lot more, but it's nothing anybody doesn't know at this point. So, they've pretty much come to the conclusion that this is happening, but they really probably don't know. Some of them know why, some of them don't, but I'm going to explain all of this. So let's talk a little bit about the news just for a second. I just wanted to add a couple of things as far as the World Situation Report goes. Susan Rice. This is an interesting person, especially to me personally. So I'm not sad to see her go. The United Nations, during the Obama administration, there was the Paris Climate Control Treaty. Then there was the Paris Climate Control Agreement. It was downgraded. And technically, I guess you would say it's still out there. Nearly every country in the world signed it. But what you may not have heard me say before, but if you haven't, I'm going to repeat it anyway, if you already have, is that there is a little clause. I like to call these the Santa Clauses in the UN agreement. Deep, deep, deep inside, it says you agree to turn over all of your in-ground resources to fight global poverty.
Oh my gosh.
So at that time, after that agreement was signed, they began moving UN substations into every country in the world in areas, including the United States, on BLM land in the US, Bureau of Land Management land, and they were in every country in the world. Now, the backstory is actually that the UN had claimed they had taken control over all the in-ground resources at that point and turned them over to the Order of the Dragon, namely the next person or next group in line, which was the Chinese. Mm-hmm. Interesting little fun fact. And repeatedly at this time, they tried to register all the in-ground assets of not only the United States, thank you very much, Obama, but they also tried to register these assets over to the Shanghai Exchange in China and then issue bonds against them. So I just kept hitting reject, reject, reject because those assets were already leveraged. And you can't re-leverage something that's already leveraged. Like if you get a loan on your car, you can't take out another loan on your car until you pay off the previous one. So I called in all the debt. And obviously that didn't happen. And the Chinese deep state was unable to take over all of the in-ground assets of the United States. So not just the US, also Australia, all of Africa, every country. So they finally gave up on this one. But Susan Rice was in on the plan and the program, is definitely part of the order, and was definitely behind a lot of the operations that Obama was running at the time. Now, interesting little fun fact, a trip was made at one point in time to an area of BLM land, let's just say not that far from where I am. And immediately upon arrival, I guess it means something when the signatory, of BLM shows up. Mm-hmm. And we had a UN fully armed Humvee rock up with orders from Miss Rice to terminate everybody in the vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. There was a counterforce that also showed up at the same time, but I've never forgotten it, that the order
Yeah.
actually was placed to the local UN substation in Colorado at the time, came directly from her phone. So, most of these UN substations that were located all around the world were hosted by foreigners. So in this particular case, the people that were driving the Humvee were citizens from Saudi Arabia and Malaysia. So interesting little fun fact about Susan Rice there. I thought you might like to hear that one, because I am not sad if she goes, and I'm not sad if she completely went. Let's put it that way. Okay, next, let's talk about 3M for a minute. 3M is blaming the fact that there's, the need for electronics, or the demand for electronics is down, and that's the reason why they are, I guess you would say, on shaky ground. But that couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay.
3M is in Order of the Black Sun Corporation. And if you know about IBM, IBM, IB Marduk, then you'll know about 3M. How's that?
Oh my gosh.
Now, 3M actually doesn't produce anything. Not those cute little Post-it notes, not any of that stuff that you think that bear the 3M label. What they do is they go around certifying products at various factories for 10%. That's why I called the group the 10 percenters. So they are cutting staff and all of this. They also produced a lot of masks during the pandemic, which they didn't actually produce. They just threw their stamp of approval on the various factories all over the world to certify them so that they could actually be utilized as certified masks. So they produce absolutely nothing and take 10%. Sounds kind of like something the Order of the Black Sun would do, doesn't it? We're going to own all the production of everything worldwide under the non-compete plan. Well, I once had a conversation with, I guess you would say, the Rothschild family, indirectly, a representative of their family. And they said that no matter what I built, they were going to take it over once it was completed. That was their plan. So I could build new systems. I could build, all kinds of different things. I could even do projects at some point in the future, because they knew it was inevitable. And then they would take them all over. That was their plan. They planned to do so in cooperation and conjunction with the Order of the Black Sun, who ran BlackRock and Black Diamond, Black Energy, amongst many other companies all over the world on behalf of their then bosses at the time, which was prior to 2018, the Order of the Dragon. And then eventually, several layers up, you get to the person in my position. So this gets into what is going on, what is really going on. And I'm going to take you back to about 8 years ago during the course of me doing this job. And a group of people provided me with security, because I was out there, I wasn't in a zone, I was still traveling all around the world, and they did provide me with some security. Now, whether that was my predecessor's idea, I have no idea, but I was happy to have them. And my experience with this group of people, they were very dangerous, let me put it that way, but not to me. They never violated my personal space. They never tried to control me like some of the handlers I've had in the past. They were just there. Everywhere I would go in the world, they were there. And at the time, I really didn't understand. I've learned a lot in my tenure. No one gave me a handbook, and I don't think anybody wanted me to find out or learn anything about this world. So They did assign me a person to be my point of contact, who eventually lost his mind. Not the group, this particular person, because he took a deal from Rothschild at the time for his own personal gain. He was promised he could keep X amount of money as long as he did this. Now, but before that actually happened, something interesting took place. This was probably, like I said, about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, probably 7 years ago now. And during the course of contact with this particular group of people who are worldwide, during the course of contact with these people, there was an issue with a company that was owned by the order, claimed to be owned by the order at the time. And I said, well, why don't you just take the company? I said, I technically own it anyway, and here's the bonds and the derivatives that were issued against this particular company, and we proved it. So then the conversation went a little bit further, and they said, well, what else has the trust funded? Now, this was prior to my tenure as on the trust and the Alpha system and all of that. And I said, well, pretty much everything that was every government in the world. I also gave them a laundry list, a book, basically full of like companies like Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed, all of the banks. You know, the Rothschilds may have managed them, but the funding ultimately came from my predecessor, which means because we were never paid back the debt and the bonds still exist. And then remember, everything that passed through the ANNA system, or Association of Numerical Numbering Agency, so everything in the world that had a number, there was a bond against that bond. The bond went into the back office, which is the Alpha system, and then the Alpha system gave money against those bonds. You had to put something in to get something out. So I gave them the whole list, and they said, you know, then they came back a couple of days later, and there was a little bit of a negotiation, and they said, what do you want? And I said, well, one clean and clear, I don't want any dirty drug money or anything, US dollar. Now, these people work a lot differently than everybody else. So eventually, within a couple of years after making this deal, probably a year or so, my contact person went a little nuts, which I don't know why everybody gets an ego problem, but they do. He went a little bit nuts, and I stopped talking to him. You know, and I was living here in the zone at the time, and I was dealing with, you know, the people they assigned to me here, which I'm not anymore, obviously. And, you know, there's been some contact since then with different parties I know are affiliated with this group, but not a lot. But the one thing we've never done is I've never interfered with anything that they're doing. You know, they run a lot of different types of businesses all around the world. They have people in every single country in the world. They are, you know, they run many, many types of groups, including groups of assassins. So if you've seen, I refer back to John Wick there, you've got a whole table that handles all of the assassins worldwide, regardless of what country they're in. And they've done business in the past, I know, with the agencies. They have done business in the past with the Order of the Dragon. And they would have reported to people who are no longer with us. Well, after those people became no longer with us, they were kind of the third party, and they were not participating in any way, really, other than their normal course of business. You know, you run into the agencies here, you run into these people there, until this past weekend. Mm-hmm. So what changed? Well, governments and Black Ops and the Chinese have been borrowing money from this group, from one arm or another, to continue their quest for global domination. They are a very wealthy group. They, obviously make their money in all kinds of ways, but they're very wealthy. I would say more wealthy at this moment in time than your Order of the Dragon, and definitely more wealthy than the Order of the Black Sun. And so they've got a little bit of cash. So the Order of the Black Sun got them involved in yet another deal. They've never paid back any of the other money on the promise that they were going to do this and they were going to do that. Well, these aren't the kind of people that you break a promise to. Your word has to be good here. They are kind of, let me describe the silent circle. I call them the silent circle because I really don't have a better name, and it's a name that's been used in the past, so I'll use that one. They are a very family-oriented group, meaning if you are a part of that group, not a bloodline group, they're not bloodlines, but they do tend to teach their sons and daughters and whatnot in the ways of the family business, just like we all used to in society hundreds of, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, and that's something that the order stopped doing. They are very protective of women in their circle. And, I remember an incident where there was a person in the group. This was years ago, when I was in contact with them, had, probably had too much to drink or something and had actually hurt his wife. That particular member is no longer with the group because it's outside of their, he's no longer a member, but he's no longer here either. That's kind of what they do. Very serious people. They are feared. Is the one group that both sides, on the other side, the right and the left, the men in the middle, right, we called them, would be afraid because they are a united force. That's one thing you don't do. Like they each have their own sectors of business. They're assigned to certain things or certain jobs, certain stuff, but they do not fall outside, color outside the lines. And it's for that very reason they have been so successful. It's kind of the same thing I keep telling the 8 billion people or whoever watches this. They are successful because they are united. Yeah. They are a force to be reckoned with for sure. So go back to 8 years ago, the $1 deal, when you make a deal with people like this, it may not happen at the time you think it's going to happen, and it really wasn't the time for it. But that time was now based on what events took place over the weekend. So these are business people, they're smart. They can see the world is going to crap. They know the order's trying to crash the dollar. They have dollars too. They can see assets of theirs declining in value. They see the liquidity crisis. They see the fact that the banks are going, which they bank at as well, are going into the toilet, and all because these people just fail to recognize the fact that they will not control the world any longer. They also recognize the fact how far we have come. We have been kicking butt and taking names now for a couple of years pretty heavily. A lot of people have been gone off this planet, including the people that they would have considered their boss that they could not go against. And that was several months back.
Okay.
So they were quiet, kept doing their business and whatnot until they got roped in again. And they were promised that this was going to work. So let me tell you about what this was. During the Bush administration, Bush overprinted what we call super notes. That means they have duplicated allocation numbers assigned to them, and to the tune of $27 trillion. I know I've said this before, but I'm just repeating it because it's part of the story. And those pallets of cash, or fake cash, have been used to start wars. They've been given to people like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in the late 1970s. There was talk about using them at one point in time to crash the dollar during the Cold War. There was a lot of different instances where these pallets of cash, the Saudis have them. They've never been made good. They've had them since Desert Storm, sitting on pallets, and they've been told that they were going to be made good one day. Well, that was in what? The late 80s, early 90s that was going on. I mean, come on, So, the Order of the Black Sun has kind of gotten a bad name, out there lately because, they're making all these deals with all these different groups and they're not performing. So they tried to take these pallets of cash in a certain location. I'll just leave it at that. And then if they were successful, they were going to continue. Well, the logistical money to make this happen, about to the tune of somewhere between $100 to $200 million. This was for movements of cash, and it's heavy, planes, different things, and transfers, and paying off all the men in the middle, and, Department of Homeland Security to look the other way. And, there's a lot of hands out there with their hands out there to make this illegal cash happen. Mm-hmm. So the promise was made by an Israeli-American gentleman who is also no longer with us. And he thought he was going to become the new Mr. Black, for performing this elaborate scheme. So they threw their hat in the ring when the Chinese didn't perform again, and they thought they'd do this. Okay. So they started taking all these super notes, running them through the machine. You've seen those machines at your banks, I'm sure, where they put the money in and it validates it. So these notes have all the right ink. They have all the right chips in the ink. And then those chips have the allocation numbers or the serial numbers on the bills. And they put them in wallets, allegedly to back, here we go, the central bank digital currency.
Okay.
So they wanted to get that going. They promised everybody that their wallets, they gave wallets to the generals in the country where they got the money from. They gave wallets to the Americans that were participating. They gave wallets even to the Silent Circle. Told them that money was going to be good, and that's for their part in it. They were putting up the logistic money up front. Well, now the other thing they did, the phone call that I told you guys about when I got a call from the group of operatives was all a part of the deal. So the phone call that I got was to talk about, what about cash? Can we put it in the system? It was, we want to work together. We love you. Yeah, right. All this crap. But it was all a setup to convince the Silent Circle that I was going to participate. Mm-hmm. So why did I get so that phone call was last week. We said, well, gee, we'll see how they do, what happens, how it goes. And then by Saturday morning, all of a sudden, another group of people that also had wallets from South America were told that it's my fault that money wasn't good. And they came after me, or they were going to come after me, till they figured out that I knew the Silent Circle. So once I put all of this elaborate operation, quite an elaborate scheme, right? Mm-hmm. Once I put that all together, I was like, oh, okay, here's the setup. So I called to collect my dollar. I said, I haven't gotten my dollar. Just saying. And then the dollar deal went into effect after they failed to put that cash in the system and after the money was found not good by Monday. And they initiated the dollar deal. What is the dollar deal? I told you. A list of every company in the world that the trust funded. A list of every government in the world that the trust funded. So the Silent Circle had been planning all this time for when the time was right to enact the dollar deal. So they began taking over everything in the last few days and doing an amazing job, gotta say. They took over the White House. They took over the CIA. They took over BlackRock. They took over, JP Morgan yesterday. They took over the Treasury in South Africa. They took over China last night. And they have taken over, they are, let's just say, they're involved in Russia as well. They're involved in many other African countries. They're involved in all of Latin America. They are going to town, repossessing everything from the most critical on down the food chain. So before they figured out what was going on, the Order of the Black Sun went into a full-on panic. Safe houses were being filled. People were being turned away. No, there wasn't enough room. People have been flooding into this town and other zones like hotcakes because they know it's over. And I told you, these people are feared. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't let the world, they see us pushing, they know where all the bodies are buried. They know that information is power. They know who every single member of the order is. They know where they are at all times. They are fully well aware of everything. They have worked directly with the others in the past. They're everywhere. So it was the one group that was actually qualified with some honor, integrity, family values to do the job. So they're not done yet, but they have taken a lot of the critical infrastructure away from the Order of the Black Sun and away from the Order of the Dragon because, quite frankly, they agree that they're incompetent. Yeah. We can't continue trying to live in a fantasy where Trump bucks are going to back the entire world's financial system. No, we can't live in that fantasy because it's funny money. And so we even got a call from some people in the military and said, well, why can't we do that? And we said, well, it's funny money. It's not real, Mm-hmm. I mean, we might as well back it with potatoes. It'd be more efficient, and they said, well, it's all funny money. Well, that's the whole point is we're trying to get away from funny money. We're getting away from assets that are not real, we might as well back the financial system with bananas at that point. You have to keep producing bananas because at least it makes more sense, But these people are in no way qualified to run a world. So yesterday they took the NSA. They put their people at the top of everything, and they are cleaning house. The media.
I was just going to say, is this related to all the changeover we're seeing in the media right now?
Well, yeah, they don't need any of those Black Sun people they're not paying those people $2 million a year. Are you kidding me? They owe them trillions by now. That's just them. And they can see that I've been trying to explain how to fix it. But meanwhile, the world is burning. It is burning. The economy of every country in the world is burning because these people are waiting for an astrological alignment with Uranus and a possible help from some demon somewhere, and they're calculating next dates and all of this stuff, and it's not happening. But these people actually understand the science that it's not happening.
Right.
They have their own seers. They have very competent people. They are a force to be reckoned with, I promise you. And I never, had a problem. In other words, if they were there to make sure that no one shot me in the head, no one shot me in the head.
Right.
I've had them on planes and trains and following me around and all kinds of stuff, in the past.
Mhm.
Now I stuck in this 11 square miles because I was going against the people that actually run this place too. Now,
Right.
some of the people have been offered, I'm not even going to say a deal, a demand. So when these people say things like, either you work for me or you die. You go against me and you die. You don't want to work for us? Fine. You do no work or you'll die. When these people say it, they mean it.
Right.
And they've proven that in the last several days. Some of the things that happened to the people that were running that scam on them to the tune of a couple $100 million. How do I say this? There are things in life worse than death. And we'll leave it at that.
Mm.
So let's talk about, that is what's been happening. That is very serious. It is very good for us. And I look forward to receiving my one crisp, clean, and clear dollar bill, finally, after 7 years. So what does that mean? We have to kind of talk about the future here.
Oh.
So these people have the power and the ability to actually stop human trafficking.
Wow.
These people have the power and ability to stop illegal drugs. I told you they were feared by everyone.
Okay.
But the contingency for doing so means the business people that run those types of things on behalf of the order, because it was always in cooperation with the agencies, let's not forget, trust me when I tell you, Trump's not saving babies when he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to replace their income
Right.
with an alternative industry.
Right. They can't lose all that money.
So why jump into the CEO position of BlackRock if you know it's bankrupt? Because they know it is. Why jump into positions in government? Why jump into control of agencies? Why jump into the head of Boeing eventually, and Lockheed and Airbus and all of these positions? And why am I only asking for one clean and clear dollar? Think about it. Clever? Because these will become the businesses of these people and they can farm them out however they need to.
Mm-hmm.
We will fund and fix the businesses because they tanked them all. BlackRock and Vanguard, between the two of those companies when taken over, they hold stock in everything and have nothing at the same time. Larry Fink actually admitted right before the takeover yesterday that they were bankrupt. Called his lawyers, started setting everything up because no money ever came. Those wallets are not good. By Monday afternoon, stroke Tuesday morning, the entire world had realized they'd been scammed.
Mm-hmm.
That this was just another attempt to run an operation with people who don't see the entire operation. So when you run something, you have to run it from the beginning to the end, and you have to have some patience sometimes. So, taking the Order of the Dragon and the Order of the Black Sun's businesses out of their hands and putting them in the hands of people that at least have some honor, integrity, and I'm sure they're going to pay me my dollar. Now we agree to fund these businesses with new asset-based currencies, new production lines in every currency in the world. They're everywhere. And now the world economy doesn't miss a beat. We don't need a market crash. We don't have to look at crashes of governments, at least in the interim, because we have sane people pulling the strings behind. And with them, things are, as long as you are an honorable person, business is easy. We agree to do X, Y, and Z. Thus far, I've gotten calls from South Africa and some contacts I have there about fixing all of the businesses there, including the Eskom, which is the electric company in South Africa. This morning, I've also gotten calls from other people saying that they're not going to block my money anymore in this country or that country. Yep, that means that we'll have cooperation from the banks.
Wow.
Which means that you'll have cooperation and nobody's going to try to steal your money, put a hold on it, send you into compliance hell, I call it, when you never get it. You know, you have to provide paper after paper after paper. We've all done that one with the governments and banks, haven't we? You know, just to get this approved or that approved. So we won't have that problem eventually as they make their way through all the banks in the world, and they will, because that's what's going to happen. And then we will provide liquidity to the system. We will provide production contracts with all of these companies that they've acquired, and it's a book. Told you, it's a book. They will run them, they will profit from them, but we will change things. For example, one company we're going to change is Monsanto. It no longer will produce chemtrails. We will be transitioning that company. They'll be paid to do so. We'll be transitioning that company into a company that only makes organic fertilizers. This is going to cut down on all of the health issues that our farmers have. Seeds will be seeds, not this 1 year annual thing and you're forced to take a contract. Other companies we actually funded and own are things like Pfizer and Moderna. You know, it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people, and there's all hands on deck right now. And I expect to have my dollar very, very soon. How's that for interesting?
Yeah. I mean, is there any danger, Kim? The first thing that I thought of is, like, in my mind, it's kind of a little bit like a monopoly, right? I mean, we had the two factions. We had the Order of the Dragon, and we had the Black Sun going at it. And now we're doing production contracts with a company that sounds like they're on the right track, but that also consolidated power. Is there any concern about one group taking over? Or, I mean, I know we've got control of the Alpha system and stuff, but that would be my only concern in doing something like that.
Well, the Order's companies are far and wide, but what the Order also used to do is hold people like you down.
Yeah.
Let's just say you got a loan to start a news channel, and you get a little news channel and everything's going fine, you know, and whatnot, but you'd never make it to the level of CNN, even if you actually made it. You would be pushed down into a corner. Now, see, these people aren't like that.
Okay.
You're not interfering with anything they're doing. There's nothing about non-compete. This is about, you know, if you make a better widget than Apple makes, God bless you.
Okay.
It's a different mentality. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
They're in this at this moment in time because they have realized they're smart. They have realized they will not survive in the new world unless they do something. And clearly trying to get the Order of the Black Sun to move out of the way, or get the, you know, they still keep trying to think it's 1985, get the Order of the Dragon out of the way, get these people, they had to do something.
Right, right. And it sounds too like they don't necessarily have the crazy ego that some of these other groups did.
Well, you know, although, like I said, they do raise their children to take on family businesses and those types of things. They do tend to do that, but it's through hard work. Okay. You know, They know every, it's like they don't own Heinz, well, they'll own Heinz ketchup probably eventually in the near future, but let's just say they did, right? They know where the tomatoes come from. They know where all the products are. They know how every machine in the joint works. They don't train them like the order does. The order just gives them a sense of entitlement because their last name is X.
Okay.
I am of the bloodline of Satan, or whatever. They don't, it's a different, like I said, they're the only people that have ever provided me with any kind of security that have never tried to control me.
Right.
So, and this went on for years, probably 3 or 4 years, so they had plenty of time if that's what they were going to do.
Right.
At some point in time, you have to trust people. You have to at least try, and from what I can see, the way that these people do business is, don't get me wrong, you definitely do not want to try to scam them in any way, but by the same token, they pretty much run a lot on the honor system, and loyalty. And usually that extends both ways.
Right. Which is what we want anyways. We want people to be loyal and true to their word. Do you think, Kim, this could have any kind of impact on our sovereignty at all? Like any kind of negative impact, right? Because we're trying to develop this relationship where we can, connect directly to source and just go based on that energy, right? Could this impact that at all in any kind of negative way, do you think?
Well, at this time, they've come in like a lion. One of two things was going to happen. BlackRock already declared themselves bankrupt, and they were not willing or able, because of the way the Order of the Black Sun works, to make a change, to do anything different. On the flip side of it, the Order of the Dragon just keeps waiting for some date, some alignment, somebody to do something, and digital currencies. So either the world was going to crash, and then we were going to be there to pick up the pieces and try to figure out how we're going to do banking in the meantime and do all kinds of different stuff. They took the Fed, by the way, on Monday. It was one of their first acquires. Those people are not sane. Powell's, off his rocker. But we still need somebody to actually print physical cash.
Right.
De La Rue prints cash for most of the rest of the world, with very few exceptions. We need printing presses, and that's worth $1, don't you think? If we print new allocations for physical cash to go into circulation, legal physical cash, then we need to know it gets to where it's going too. These people can provide that kind of security, because we're certainly not going to get it from our intelligence agencies. We're certainly not going to get it out of Homeland Security. I mean, although they're good people in all of them, don't get me wrong. But you got poor leadership. As an example, China is broke, flat out broke. Yet they're still hanging on to the fact they're going to dominate planet Earth. Well, flat broke. So they run all of these, I call them lie games. They got the Chinese people in Reno, and there's people over there, and these people over there, and the British, they're not all, Order of the Dragons, different nationalities, all giving people lines of crap. Yeah. They're never going to launch a central bank digital currency. It is not possible. The infrastructure is not there at this moment. So how your day is going to go when you get a phone call from the head of the Order of the Black Dragon, who promptly says, "Flip you." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like the world had to change. That's all I said.
So that legitimately happened. You got that call
Yep. I had
today?
talked to him a long, long time. I met him back in an unfortunate circumstance back in 2009. And he's had my number ever since, same phone number. Yeah, today, this morning. I was like, oh, ha, 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 they got China. I hung up the phone and went, ha, 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 they got China.
Wow. Okay.
So will BlackRock survive? It will be restructured. Less than 24 hours ago, before meeting the Silent Circle, of course, one of my associates received, remember how I had put word out several months back to buy BlackRock?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then they said, well, maybe they'll consider selling some of it. I said, no, I'm not here for that. I'm here for all or nothing.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to get you one way or another. I'm either going to get you for free or I'm going to get you, or I'm going to pay you money to walk away because you're screwing everything up.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday afternoon, this was very funny. I couldn't figure out why they were entering. Now, the founder of BlackRock was Pete Peterson, was his name. And I'm seeing, and I know he died a while ago. And I kept seeing these, the codes being entered for Pete Peterson. And I'm like, reject, reject. Why am I seeing that? This was really, really, really funny. So turns out they had told the people as they came in to take the asset, they were told that, oh, wait, we've got secret money. It's in the founder's name. It's off ledger. It's all that, they made up these stories just to try to stave them off. And so they kept entering the codes. And then the guy behind him, is one of the Silent Circle people. The guy behind him goes, nice try, buddy. Now get the out of this chair. I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was just funny. But that's the story about BlackRock. But they did call and say that they wanted us to now work with them. And this was right before they had already started their plan of taking over, but they had not yet reached BlackRock at that point, but they knew it was coming.
So the Silent Circle reached out to you and said,
No. The BlackRock did.
BlackRock reached out to you. Okay.
Yeah, based on the offer we had given months back.
Oh, because, okay, they realized the ship was going down and decided to reach out. But then that was before Silent Circle came in and out. Okay. Yep.
And so we responded with, no, thank you. It's too late now. And then within hours, they had walked in there. So,
Okay.
And all this since Monday.
The busy 48 hours for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is the unexpected shift towards restoration that's happening, and a shift to a multipolar world that can actually happen now without pain. I mean, we're all feeling pain at the grocery store. We're all feeling pain at the pump. But, all of those oil companies came from Standard Oil, didn't they? Which came from Rockefeller. And where did he get the money? Oh, it came from the Alpha system, didn't it? They also took railways. For those of you that don't know, Rockefeller bought little pieces of land. So he was given money to build a global high-speed rail in an account in Citibank many, many years ago. He was given the engineering plans. And so what he did is he took those plans once he saw where the rail was supposed to go, and he bought up plots of land all along the way with the money that he was given for the infrastructure of the train, never built the train, but made sure he controlled the routes. So he could charge ridiculous amounts of money. Yep. And so those were all taken yesterday. So this is a case of trading places here. You know, will they sell off any of those companies in the future? I don't know. Would they sell them off to someone like you? Well, I don't know. We can ask, you know. We can ask for CNN. We can ask for BBC. We can ask for all those. You know, that's a possibility. It's a very real possibility now because you're dealing with a sane human who's not taking orders from an idiot,
Right.
waiting for an astrological alignment. You see, these are business people. You do business.
Right. Right. They're sane. They're sane. They get it.
Well, absolutely. They just wanted to make sure they weren't going to be left holding the bag, which is why I got other phone calls this morning talking about how we're going to back the currency, how we're going to issue production contracts, how we're going to do different things, you know, how we're going to revive them, clean them up, and then sell them for what they're worth. If that is to us, for one of you to run, that's possible. But it's going to take a little bit of time. So, very interesting development. I'm glad I could tell you about it now because it's already out there and everybody already knows what's happening. So,
Okay, so Kim, clarification question. So how much direct contact have you had with the Silent Circle?
there is a call scheduled for probably right after I get off of the news.
Okay, so that hasn't happened yet. No direct contact has happened yet, but there's a meeting planned.
Not yet. There's a meeting planned. There's some calls that will take place today. I do know that. I know we're going to start to do business. That's basically what they want to do. There will be a direct meeting with these people at some point in the future.
Okay.
You know, another one funny little comment that was made. So some of the people, especially of the Order of the Black Sun, have made comments like that lady, meaning me, has some, how do I say this in a, you know, often described as a reflection of someone's courage and bravery. They say he has big,
Yes.
or she has, in this case, big, and why? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know, my first contact with the group, it was, you know, the same comment was actually made by my predecessor because who was alive at the time. And I just said, look, you know, if these people are going to do something and I'm fearful of it,
right.
It's not going to stop them from doing that something. Now, is it? If I'm, you know, you can't walk around in fear of things, and worry is another one. Fear and worry. I've done nothing to these people. I did nothing to the order either, but Lord knows all they do is lie.
Right.
You know, constantly. Whether it's an operative here or another group there or the people out of China or the people out of UK, I've never spoken to these people and had them not lie in a conversation, ever. And they keep forgetting I'm a human lie detector, for crying out loud. I'm connected to source. It's like, the buzzer goes off, you know, you know, oh, that part's true. Good morning. Yeah. Okay. But other than that, usually it's always a lie.
Yeah.
At least I didn't get that from these other people. When they say they're going to do something, they do it. Might have taken 8 years, 7 years, but hey, better late than never.
How is this group, Kim, showing up on the Alpha system? Because we talked about the Alpha system before and how it can detect intent and everything. Obviously, there's no red flags or anything like that that you're seeing.
Well, you know, make no mistake. You have to understand when you go into a business negotiation of any sort, you have to understand the company. You know, if you're going to have a job interview, you do all your research on the company before you go. You know, who's, you know, you want to make sure you know their products. If it's a company that produces widgets or something, you know, you have to understand the mentality, you know, what people have said about this person. You know, nowadays you look at their Facebook page and Twitter and all that to see, you know, oh, is there anything I can say to, that might get in good with this company. Oh, I love the direction you're taking the company. Then they'll say, oh, she would be someone that we would like to work here, that kind of thing. Well, I've done the same thing. I know where they've been. I know what they've done. I know who they used to report to many years ago. I know that those people are dead. I know what they've been doing for the last few years, since the year or so since those people died. The writing is on the wall. We have made so much progress, on our end of it. It is clear they don't have a computer. They don't have a base platform. They don't have a quantum system. They don't have any ability to control money supply. They don't have any ability to control militaries really much anymore, because there's no money to pay them to go anywhere. They don't really have a whole lot of weaponry that we can't get rid of like that.
Okay.
They don't really have, what power do they have? They have the power of bullcrap. That's what they got. And they weave big tapestries of it all over the world while crashing the entire world's economy with no hope of bringing it back up. And no clear strategic business plan. If we went into the bank in years past, we would present a business plan, detailed down to the last nail of what it was going to cost to build your building and produce your widgets and how long it was going to take. And if you didn't do it right, you wouldn't get your next draw or on your business loan. Your business credit line would get cut off. These people have never seen that before, but the other people have. So you see the difference here?
Mm-hmm.
We have our own forces and we are taking them out. But unfortunately, governments, the Order of the Black Sun, generals, these people would never listen to me. They just wanted to call me up, give me a line of crap, and then hang up the phone like I was going to actually do the crap, or that I didn't see through what they were saying, or my lie detector didn't go off, or whatever. And I've been dancing around playing with these people for years now, trying to convince the aides in Washington to do something, trying to convince and it always goes back to the squirrel. The squirrel comes from some guy that thinks he's so bleeping smart, at the top of what's now the top of the food chain, which was the bottom of the barrel several years ago. And he thinks he's going to do the thing.
Yeah.
I had the most arrogant phone call on Sunday. Well, I'm just going to do. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you can clock with an egg timer how long it's going to take before someone shows up at your front door. You have no idea who you just messed over for this money.
Wow.
Yep. And like clockwork, it all happened.
Right.
It happened. But this is a huge change for us. It's a huge change for the world. As long as we all do the right thing, countries will survive, people will survive, people will have the ability to create industry without an economic assassin knocking at your door, without the bank turning you away anymore, because God help these people if you go against these people.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? And the governments listen to these people, if for no other reason, out of fear. They've got a vast network and they're not afraid to use it. And so this is a positive development for humanity. And quite frankly, I would rather talk to any human on the planet, anyone other than the damn operatives anymore, because they can't get it straight.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, if they're willing to fly straight now, that's a whole nother story. But please do not call me ever again and tell me that story like you told me on Sunday. Never again. Never. Arrogance is a weakness. Your ego will get you every time. Stop.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to stop because I said so, because I'm just the blonde lady, then maybe you'll stop when a force of millions of people come against you. You admitted the fact, people would disappear at all these historical sites, constantly. They knew it was me. I
Mm.
started running the operations. The reason why I relaunched the key intelligence and military system in read-only status wasn't because I wanted to give them information. I mean, of course, the information is in there if they want to look it up. It's there. It's all in real time and everything. It's great information. But you're watching me run the damn operations on there. And why did it have to take a third-party entity for you to figure out that you need to stop?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. At least we have new management for some of these places.
Exactly.
Okay?
Right.
And they're not waiting for an astrological alignment with Uranus. They're not. They're
Right.
going to do business. So let's do business. You know, asset-backed currencies are a must.
Mhm.
Chemicals that harm humans are not permitted. You know, we are not on the eugenics program where we're going to where they're going to continue genetically modifying humans and creating disease. Disease is not a business anymore. You know, where you're putting people on long-term drugs. New technologies will be available to replace those technologies, and there'll be plenty of money to be made doing so. You know, not only for all of you, but for them too. Fair? That's fair.
Yeah, and like you said, how quickly we can turn this around is kind of mind-blowing, because if we had to do all of this on our own, then it's going to take a lot longer. But if we can get them in there to change the companies around, we can do things at lightning fast
It
speed.
hasn't even been 72 hours. Look how effective they are.
Yeah.
The Order
Yeah.
of the Black Sun couldn't get crap done except for lies and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You're your white hats. Woo-hoo. The Alliance. You know. Oh, look. You know, a Uranus will appear in the night sky. Here we go. You know. You know, it's all going to happen now.
Yeah.
You know, and these people just, boom, less than 72 hours. And, you know, probably by the end of this week, they'll be done. They'll have taken it all.
Wow.
Now that is a GSD.
Yes, it is. That is impressive. That.
They don't take bull crap and they don't give bull crap.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's your world situation report for Wednesday. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.
Oh, that's real news, all right.
That's real news.
Kim, I like your comment about the media companies and what do we do with the media companies now, and possibly working, you know, in that whole thing instead of us having to build everything from scratch. That was a really cool takeaway. From
Yeah,
today for
we
me.
don't have to negotiate with the CIA anymore to get them either. Or
There
Ted
you
Turner,
go.
who is Order of the Black Sun, or any of those people.
Yeah.
We have a sane human being that says, hey, there's an asset here. You know, what's it worth? Do we want to keep it? Do we want to let it go? You know, how are we going to do this? Either way, you know, they've
Right.
got a satellite network that's worth something. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, talk about just getting the truth out there. It's just, oh my gosh. It's just, again, how fast can things change? Like when you've got control over these assets, it's just incredible.
Yeah, we might be broadcasting on all their networks soon.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. Hey, I've asked for it.
I know. Well, yeah.
And because we're
absolutely.
talking about it on the internet, it's going to the Silent Circle's ears too. Hey,
There you go. Just put that little bug in there. Just, you know, just a nice.
yeah, we're just doing that, you know.
Yeah. That's exciting, Kim, for sure. So
Absolutely.
obviously, hopefully Friday, another big update because you've got these meetings and everything going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. I'm
Right.
anticipating some more good updates for Friday, possibly into next week. So I'm excited to see the change. I'm excited to try to negotiate with someone different, someone that's, you know, got some common sense and business sense and at least some sense of, you know, the honor system. So that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, we look forward to Friday's report.
All right. Sounds perfect.
All right. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Sunny.
That wraps up our news update for Wednesday, April 26th. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for The Real News.